What's going on, guys? This is Chris with Azrael's Pit Barbecue, and in this video we are going to make the original San Antonio Fajitas. Let's get cooking. You know, if you're like me, you love fajitas, but it's kind of one of those things where it's easy to cook, but do you really know what they're supposed to taste like? There's a lot of choices. You go to the store, there's bags of marinades, bottles of marinades, all with different types of flavor profiles. You go to the restaurants, every single restaurant's a little bit different. So I wanted to know, what is real Tex-Mex fajitas supposed to taste like? And I think I found the answer. Most food historians would agree that fajitas are a Texan invention. In her book, Foods and Flavors of San Antonio, Gloria Chadwick suggests that a gentleman by the name of Sonny Falcon, known as the Fajita King, is actually the inventor of this type of barbecue, dating back to 1969 and known to be the first vendor around fairs and various events to have been selling this delectable food that we all know and love. Fajita purists will tell you that a fajita must be made out of skirt steak, and I hold true to that myself. One of the great things about fajitas is it's again another invention on how to sell a cut of meat that would normally have been scrap or make it to the burger pile. The skirt steak, which we'll talk about more in a moment, can be a little bit difficult to cook. It's thin, and depending on which side of the skirt steak you get, it can be chewy, or it can be tough, or it can have membrane on it. Just wasn't an appealing piece of meat. So if Sonny Falcon really is the inventor of fajitas, thank you, sir, because boy, we sure do love it, and we love the inventiveness of how to take what was considered waste and make it something so delicious and in such high demand today. The skirt steak is located on the short plate from the chest to the abdominal wall of the animal, and is considered to be a tough cut. There's two types of skirt steak, depending on where it's cut and which side you get. There's the outside skirt and the inside skirt. Attached to the chest wall of the diaphragm, and the muscle that actually moves the diaphragm, is the outside skirt. The inside skirt is the back side of the skirt steak and is located within the body and the abdominal wall, running from the lower ribs to the beef flank primal cut. Interesting enough, the inside and the flank are sometimes used interchangeably, but they are not the same muscle group. That being said, some folks certainly swear by and will cook fajitas using flank. They'll also use things like a flat iron. There's also the flap. The flap is actually further back than the skirt steak, coming from more to where the tri-tip area is from the lower sirloin. That's all fine and well. Do what you want to do. Tenderize it however you want to tenderize it. We're going to do skirt steak, so a little more on that. Traditionally speaking, the outside skirt is considered to be the more flavorful. It's supposed to be the more tender, and it's also the more expensive, and it's the harder to find in the United States. One of the reasons why this is a lot of that meat goes to either restaurants or gets exported overseas. So if you look on a package, if you buy skirt steak, it'll say inner or outer. Most likely you're going to get inner, but if you can find the outer, pick it up, because that's going to be some good eats. So for this cook, we're going to use an inner skirt steak. And as I mentioned, it's going to be a little bit tougher. So we're going to have to do a little bit of work to get this nice and tender. The cook itself is not going to tenderize it as it does with normal traditional barbecue, because it's the time and the low heat over that time that helps break down things like connective tissues. This cook is hot and fast. So we're going to have to do a little bit of doctoring on the front end. We're going to trim off some fat on these skirts, get them fairly cleaned up. We don't want too many fatty globules and whatnot. I am going to use my Jacquard tenderizer on it. I don't use it very often, but I am going to use it for this. And then we're going to marinate it. The marinade we're going to make is extremely simple. Don't worry, again, authentic Tex-Mex here, and this is an extremely simple marinade. The question is going to be a matter of time. The recipe for the marinade actually says at least an hour. But if I'm doing inner skirts, if I can go overnight, I will. And I'm actually going to go overnight, and this is going to get maybe at least a 12+ hour marinade, if not more, before I cook these tomorrow evening. So let's take a look at these skirt steaks, see what we got. Alright guys, we're looking at a couple of pieces of inner skirt steak. This is just over 2 pounds, and by the time we get a little trim out here and there, we'll be right at 2 pounds. As you can see, there's some little bits of fat. That's just pulling right off. Got some fat up in here we need to trim off. Got some fat in here we need to take off. And we take this fat off and a little bit of membrane. So let's do that real quick, and we'll move on to the next step of tenderizing. Okay, as you can see, I left some fat on here. I didn't go terribly crazy, but did get a fairly good bit of waste. Now, you want to notice the grain. You've seen me talk about the grain before. The grain runs about like this on these. When you cook these, you're definitely going to want to cut them across the grain. That's another way you're going to help make them tender. I'm going to use my card here and just do a little cross hatching to help break up some of those membranes. I'm sorry if the camera's shaking. So I'm doing this at an angle with the grain, and then I'm going to turn it and come back perpendicular to the grain. So it's on an angle, so I'm coming back the other way. Good. Now all we need to do is mix up our marinade and get these puppies in the fridge for overnight. Alright guys, again, very simple on this marinade with a few extra ingredients I've added in myself. So we're going to start with our wetware. We have just over 1/4 cup of lime juice, fresh squeezed if you can get it. 2 tablespoons of olive oil, roughly a tablespoon of, I use roasted minced garlic, the kind you get in the jar. If you want to get some fresh garlic, 4 or 5 cloves, press them out yourself, you can do that. This is just in the mortar and pestle. And then for our dry good, we have roughly 1½ teaspoons, about maybe 1½ 2 teaspoons of ground cumin. I have about a teaspoon or so of salt, about a teaspoon or so of pepper, and about a teaspoon or so of ancho powder. The pepper and the ancho are completely up to you. Those are extra. Very simple to assemble. Lime juice, our olive oil, the roasted garlic, and our dry goods. Just whisk it all together. This does not look like much, and it's not much. You don't need a ton of marinade. This will do this for every 2 pounds or so of steak. Now, you can put this in a dish of some type if you want to, but I like using Ziploc bags. I usually make double this amount, so I've got a bigger bag than I really need. But I'll put 2 pounds in here. I want to pour my marinade straight in the bag. Make sure you scrape out some of your dry seasonings so you don't miss that goodness. you squeeze out my ear. That's all there is to it. I'll stick this in the pan in case there's any leaks, and in the morning I'll come mush it around a little bit, and in the afternoon I'll come stir it around a little bit more, and then tomorrow evening we'll get to cooking these. So these are going to sit in the fridge overnight. In the morning I'll come mix up the bag a little bit and work them around. Midday I'll do the same thing, and then tomorrow evening come supper time I'm going to fire up that grill. We're going to put these on a nice hot direct heat, and we're going to get to cooking. Alright guys, it is time to start cooking. The coals are lit, and while they're getting ready, I need to do a little more prep in here. You know, one of the things about fajitas that makes them so much fun is you get to build your own. And that means for us, little sauteed onions and some bell peppers. So, while the coals are going, I'm going to slice up some onions and bell peppers real quick so we can saute these up. Alright, now I'm going to saute off these onions. I'm going to saute off the peppers separately. Main reason for that is we have a member of the family that has a little bit of problem with the bell peppers, so I keep those juices separate. In the meantime, I'm going to take a cast iron skillet, throw it in the oven, and pretty much heat up the oven as hot as it'll go for this cast iron skillet. You know when you go to restaurants and you get those sizzling skillet platters? There's a reason why they do that. These pieces are so thin, after you get them off the grill and you slice them, they cool down really, really fast. So we're going to have a nice hot cast iron out here, and after I get these things sliced, I'm going to throw my onions and my meat into them, give a little bit of burst of a heat, nice hot little kind of sear before we serve them up. Let's go check on that grill. Alright guys, we are going. Got a little storm off to the north of us. You may hear a little rumble of thunder, but that's okay. Like I said, this is going to be nice and hot. Pay attention to where your thin pieces are. You may want to put them on the cooler side and get your thicker piece on the inside. I put some bricks under my grate to raise it up a little bit to get the coals a little closer. Here we go. Alright guys, we've got the fajitas off the grill, pulled them off right at 135. They're going to cook over just a little bit. Let's take a look at these things. You know, this is just a small serving. You can do this at any scale you want. Really nicely. You can get some good juices off of this. See how our grain's going? We're going to turn them this way, and you can see that grain. And I'm basically going to slice these, slightly biased, straight across. And of course, there always has to be a test. That's good. So good. Now, at this point, you're ready to serve. I can already feel it cooling off. But we are going to solve that problem right now. We're all sliced up and ready to go. We're going to throw our onions in this pan. Ready to serve. Alright guys, that about wraps this cook up. Hope you enjoyed our San Antonio fajitas. We sure are ready to eat. Smells so good in here. We're going to get some tortillas out and build these fajitas up and get our grub on. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, keep that smoke rolling. We'll see you next time.